Nemesis Reborn recently opened at the Alton Towers resort, and there's been various different reviews coming in about it. You've got some people calling it the best in the UK, some are calling it rough, and some are even saying the original was better. And as much as on this channel I've given my first ride opinion on it, I've now done it around 15 times. So I'm going to give you my proper in-depth review now. I've collected all of my thoughts regarding the ride experience, the coaster itself, even the queue line as well, with those pieces of track that they seem to have left out. All the little details, the theming, and even some of the negatives. I'm going to talk about them all today. I might even have some controversial opinions. Who knows? So if you do want to enjoy my honest thoughts on Nemesis Reborn and you want to see more for the new rides in the UK in the future, then please be sure to subscribe to the channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. Nemesis Reborn in review then. What is my honest opinion? I don't really know, actually. I'm just joking, of course I know. That's why I'm making this video today. So we will begin where the Nemesis Reborn ride experience also begins. And that is when you enter Alton Towers. Obviously not. I would say the ride experience actually starts when you go under that Nemesis containment zone sign. It probably does start a bit before, in the whole area of Forbidden Valley, you know, with the massive helicopter and Phalanx facility sign. I literally did a whole video covering all of that, so go and check that out if you want my review on that side of it. But obviously, as you enter into the Nemesis containment zone, you see the helix right in front of you, and if you time it right, then you'll just see the coaster whiz past. To the right, you've got the blade, which we don't really care about right now, and to the left is the brand new entrance to the ride, and it uses that old drill thing that was there originally, but it's just been revamped heavily. It's been painted black, it's got all the veins going up it, and it even has that brand new entrance sign saying Nemesis Reborn. And I must say, that entrance looks so much better than it used to. And on that structure as well, there is actually some permanent lighting that shines off onto the ride, which is really cool. Perfect for a night ride. And I would have been able to experience that had it not broken down and everyone got turned away. So on the original, if the extended queue was open, you'd head up towards the hill on the left. And you'd do that anyway on the new one. Although this time you pass by loads of different theming pieces, including a piece of track, which they clearly forgot to put in. But that's like coming out of the ground and it's sort of surrounded by rocks and stuff. And it just looks like Nemesis has taken over that entire site. It's very cool. There's a few little signs on the queue line fences and everything, but around there's not too much theming, to be fair. It's just a lot of grass and trees, which right now, when it's not grown in, doesn't look too great. But I'm sure when we get to the summer and the trees have grown in a bit more, it might look a bit better. And I would say to add some extra theming around there, but there is a few pieces we're going to get onto. And even so, there are small little bits. Do you remember that old gun thing that was outside Forbidden Valley? You know, the one that got removed for that massive helicopter? Everyone complained about the fact that's gone. You know that thing? There is pieces of it scattered within the queue line. You can see them on the ground. How epic. Stop the complaints because it still exists in the Nemesis site. You then come across a huge looking laser cannon that's brand new, that is poised to shoot at the Nemesis Reborn creature. And this is a really good addition to the queue line, because not only does it have the cannon itself, of course, but around it there's little boxes of like Phalanx ammo and all that good stuff. But what's probably the best part about it is the fact that as the ride goes over the corkscrew, it physically, well, it doesn't do it physically, audiologically, the cannon fires at the ride, which I think is insane. I've said this multiple times about multiple different things, but it's just one of those little features that is so unnecessary and didn't need to be in there, but it is, and it adds so much. You continue around the queue line and there's a nice wide area that's a viewing platform. Never seen that before. You know, it provides some really cool views and you can stretch your legs for once, because it's not just a narrow line all the way to the station. There's a nice bit of breathing space. And then you go down to what is my first criticism of the ride. Sound the alarms! We're about to be slightly negative. I'm sorry. The reason I've sounded these alarms is because as you walk further into the queue, you've got nice bits of theming here and there, the cannon and even a container I'm going to talk about. But when you look to your left on this section, it is literally a mud pit with nothing there. And they haven't tried to cover it up or anything. You can see straight into that area. So something makes me think there is supposed to be something there and it just isn't yet. Or they just don't plan to do anything there anyway. I seriously hope it's the first option. You loop round under the lift hill and then come back and you see that container that I was talking about. And we saw this from the outside of the park. We were thinking, Have they just seriously stuck a shipping container there? But no, they've really themed it all in. The sort of track is coming out of it again. They've left another piece out. What's going on? There's posters, different Easter eggs in there as well. And of course, the main reason it's there is because it's a rolling pre-show to give you a bit more context of the Phalanx and seek the truth. You then head round for your final stretch, your final descent to the station building. And so far, other than the mud pit, it's been a very well themed and well thought out queue line. I much prefer this to the original. You get this amazing view of the loop and the pit it's in, and you also get to circle around the helicopter on the side as well that's smoking. It's got audio going, and also the propellers are spinning. They weren't at the start of the season, but less than a week later they got them spinning. Has me hopeful that the mud won't exist for long, I pray. And the fact the helicopter is making its own sounds and sort of like, I don't know, radio noises coming over and stuff, you could genuinely sit there and listen to it all day. Very ambient, very atmospheric. You then reach the merge point between Fast Track and Ride Access Pass and the main queue line, and once you've merged, you go to become one with the monster, if that's how you want to put it, because my god, inside that station is incredible. It feels like you've just entered inside the monster's intestines. There's loads of lights, pulsing veins, there's ribcage theming that's replaced the front row queue, and as much as it is a shame that you can't queue for the front row specifically anymore, I don't really care, it speeds up the queue. But my favourite part of the station now is that new dispatch effect. When the train exits the station, you know on the smiler it goes, "Join us." Or on Wicker Man it makes some like really tribal noise or something, and there's like, I don't know, sound. The Nemesis Reborn one is so much better than every single dispatch effect in that park. All the lights dim, and then there's the veins that I talked about earlier that start like pulsing and lighting up red, and it's just incredible. Like the music, everything, it's so dramatic and so vengeance filled, and I'm so glad they added this to the ride because it makes the start of it so much more exciting. And I guess from there now we talk about the actual ride itself, because I feel like the queue line's taken up half this video. So you're sat in your comfortable seat, the dispatch effect has gone off, and you start ascending. No you don't, you turn right, and then you start ascending the lift hill. And I might as well preface this now, they did actually replace all the track other than the lift and the brake run with brand new track that's been reprofiled and remade to be more modernised. So it is a different coaster, but also not really. And it also means the ride should be a whole lot smoother, but I'll get onto that soon. Once you've ascended the old lift hill, you get to the top and you go onto the new track, and you suddenly flatten out and head left, which has always been a very nice pre-drop, and it still is. You then head past the brand new photo/video camera, I'm still not sure which it is, and you drop down into the first inversion, and oh my god, it was so good getting back on that. On the back row, it genuinely felt way more whippy than the original. I don't know whether that's just because I hadn't been on it in a while or something, but it just did. And people were worried that that whip on the first inversion was going to be gone, so I'm so glad it stayed. You're then flung straight round into the best segment on the ride, which is the helix down into the 0G roll. And that feels just as intense now as it did before. And I can safely say your feet do feel like they're going to crack against the new Phalanx facility fencing they've put in. You reach the bottom of that helix and you head up into the 0G roll, but before you hit that, you, if you are on the front row, do hit a massive smoke blast, which is the first new effect on the ride, and that is amazing. I always wanted to see smoke on this ride, sort of as you go through it really fast, and it would like bring it around with the train, and they've done that, and I love it. If you are observant, you may be able to see the eye as you come round as well, but I can't guarantee you'll be able to do that, because you are going at like 50 odd miles an hour, and it was also too intense for me to notice at that point. And here's where my first proper input comes about smoothness. Of course, that entire first half of the ride felt quite smooth, you know, maybe similar to last time, even smoother if not. And now it gets a whole lot smoother, because that 0G roll on the ride I used to find on the original was quite headbanging. You get to the end of it and your head would be going like, whoa. So it was a painful moment on the ride, but now it's glossy smooth. I remember going on it for the first time and then for the 14 other times, and just loving the fact that I no longer have to brace my head for impact upon the restraints during that element. The whip of that 0G is still there, and you then cascade down towards the no waterfalls, which I'll talk about soon, and you spring all the way back up round the turnaround, which is where that helicopter was with the spinning blades now I said about earlier. Yeah, that one. And I'm not sure if it's meant to, but that seems to smoke as soon as you sort of go near it, so I guess that sort of is an on-ride effect. You drop down from that turnaround really deep into the pits and you go up the iconic vertical loop. And I don't know if it's because we haven't ridden it in so long, or maybe it was because it was just coming towards the end of its life before, but that loop felt so intense, and you also did get a little bit of hang time at the top. Like, it was just the perfect vertical loop this time round. Nemesis Reborn's vertical loop is so much better than Nemesis Original's vertical loop. You then head down into another tunnel, go into the nice 2-3 second break of that turnaround again, because it is just the break on the ride. Like, you just don't do anything. And it's quite nice, actually. And then you head into the final inversion, which is that final corkscrew. Although it isn't the final one, technically, because they built it the other way around, and they built that inversion first. Controversially, I think the second inversion on Nemesis is the first. This corkscrew is the exact same as that 0G roll. From my experience, it had the exact same whip, if not more whippy, and it felt way smoother. On the original, you do the corkscrew, you get into the tunnel, and your head would be bashing around already from that inversion. There is none of that on Nemesis Reborn. And then you enter the final turn, which is where my other smoothness comment comes in. And for this one, you're going to have to put the negativity alarms on. The final turn you go into is literally so rattly, and I have no idea why. It could be the wheels, it could be the track, it could be the speed that it takes that turn at. Tell me. But the thing is, it's not even a rough part of the ride. It literally just rattles back and forth. It makes a noise like it goes. It's just really weird. I don't know why it does it. And you enter the brake run, the new magnetic brake run. That's so slow, it runs at about 0.3 miles an hour. And that is the experience of the ride. Although, to be fair, you've got that eye down in the pit. That is incredible, but I've already spoken about my review on that in my opening day vlog, so go and watch that afterwards. And also, there is a severe lack of waterfalls around the ride. But apparently, they're very much on their way back, so... And I used to prefer the front row on the original Nemesis. This time, I'm going to have to give it to the back row. I think back row is way better. Something about the intensity on the back row of Nemesis Reborn is unrivaled. It's way better than both the original and front row on Nemesis Reborn as well. And with that being said, my final ranking of Nemesis Reborn is going to be an 8.8 out of 10. The reason for that, of course, right now there's no waterfalls, but they should be returning, I hope. I'd love for them to sort out that bit of the queue line that is just a mud pit currently. And obviously there's that rattle at the end as well. But I think being an 8.8 out of 10 is a very good score, because most of it, literally majority of it, is perfect. An amazing retrack for an amazing roller coaster. Is it the best in the UK? I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to do a top 20 best UK rides soon. So stay tuned. Subscribe so you don't miss it when it comes out, and leave your thoughts on Nemesis Reborn in the comments below. Good night.